Hello, people. Still in Dearborn, and yesterday I finished a book. Uh, the title is Like Wolves on the Fold. The subtitle is The Defense of Rorke's Drift. This was a fantastic book. Uh, this is the kind of book that I really like. I read, a lot of South African history when I was in my 20s. Way back, my father was still alive, and me and him were actually reading the same books, the Zulu War and the Boer War. And this book was published in 2006, 291 pages. I read it in 2 days. And it is written by Lieutenant Colonel Mike Snook, and he is an officer in the 24th, which was the regiment that got sort of wiped out at Isandlwana, and also the other elements of that regiment were the ones that defended Rorke's Drift. So we start out with the first-hand account on page 70. There was a lot of first-hand accounts in here. Not great ones, not an entire page, just like a little paragraph. This is a guy that was, at Rorke's Drift, but he was not a regular soldier. He just gets kind of pressed into the line. The first man I ever killed in my life was a big Zulu, carrying an assegai and a shield. And as he advanced, he took cover behind anything that presented itself. He dropped behind a rock prior to making another rush. When I covered the rock with my rifle, and as he rose to come on again, I pulled the trigger, and he leaped at least 5 feet in the air and dropped dead. This next first-hand account is by Hook, and if you've seen the movie, we've all seen the movie with Michael Caine, and I think it's just titled Zulu or something like that. They don't make Hook look like too good of a guy. I believe he's stealing alcohol, and he's actually in trouble at the time. But Hook was pretty heroic, and he wins the Victoria Cross along with 11 other people at Rorke's Drift. They're in the hospital, and Hook, Hook can move around. Some of these guys can't even move around. Not all the rooms are connected. Sometimes the Zulus are at the door, so they can't just go out the door. They got to break holes in the wall so that they can move from room to room. The Zulus had beaten the door and tried to enter. I stood at the side and shot and bayoneted several. I could not tell how many, but there were 5 or 6 lying at my feet. They threw assegais continually, but only one touched me, and that afflicted a scalp wound which I did not think worthwhile reporting. In fact, I did not feel the wound at the time. One Zulu seized my rifle and tried to drag it away. Whilst we were tussling, I slipped the cartridge in and pulled the trigger. The muzzle was against his breast, and he fell dead. Every now and then a Zulu would make a rush to enter. The door would only let in one man at a time, but I bayoneted or shot every one. They used the Martini Henry rifle during the Zulu War, and you had to put a bullet in, fire, eject the cartridge, put another one in. You could do it in like 8 seconds. Durnford versus Chelmsford, and this is later on in the book. The book covers the rest of the Zulu War. About half of it is Rorke's Drift, and then it goes and describes a little bit about Isandlwana. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And then it goes all the way to the King's Kraal at Ulundi. But I was unaware of this. 40 years ago when I was reading about the Zulu War, I was unaware that there was controversy about whose fault it was, that the British were overwhelmed at San Juan. Apparently, a lot of people are trying to blame Durnford right now because Durnford had moved up, engaged the Zulus, and then when it came time for Durnford to retreat, they did it kind of fast, and the companies that had moved up to support Durnford got caught. They weren't mobile, they were on foot. Durnford, his people were all mounted. I've always thought that it was Chelmsford who wasn't even at San Juan, but he's the one that divided his forces, and I mean, that's just a basic thing. And the author goes into the failings of each one of these people. And here my next note says, Jutland, Waterloo, Gettysburg, Cannae, and now San Juan. I'm going to have to get more about San Juan because I did not know that there was a controversy, and I kind of like that. Bottom of page 210. And this is the implication of Chelmsford. Another thing, I wasn't aware that Chelmsford was not his name. He had a different name, much like the Duke of Wellington. That's not his name. The bottom of 210. Okay, here it is. The fact that this was a chance encounter does not excuse Chelmsford's rash camp bed decision. He was dividing his force in the near presence of a supremely mobile enemy without knowing exactly where their main strength lay. And in doing so, he would be exposing a sprawling and badly sited encampment with no defensive fieldworks and an inadequate garrison. And not only Chelmsford, but the other guys, Poulin and Durnford, they continued to divide their force, sending out small patrols and everything. Second to last paragraph, page 213. This is like a brand new book. I just got this at King Book. 2006, that's a new book. And on the back it said $35, and I think I paid $10 for it. There were, in fact, 2 military incompetents in the field that day. A startlingly simple conclusion indeed. One of them, of course, was appointed by the other. So much for blame, because Durnford was appointed by Chelmsford. So they both had no business being where they were. Chelmsford, there hadn't even been a battle yet, and he sends all these, different contingents to all these different places. And to me, that's the root cause of the disaster at San Juan. And I mean, it was a disaster for the British, but for the Zulus, it was fantastic. Thanks for watching.